Hi. Were you like me? You were wondering when the drama was going to start with the Israelites? Because I was like, yeah, things have been going a little too smoothly. So here we see in Numbers 11 that the drama was back. So chapter 11 opens up with them beginning to complain to Moses. And when God heard, he sent fire to the periphery of the camp, and it destroyed some of the people on the outskirts. The people were terrified and screamed to Moses, and then he, as usual, pleaded to God on the people's behalf, and God stopped the fire. And the place was now called Tebera, a place of scorching. The people were still eating manna at this point, and some foreigners first, now I noticed that it started from the foreigners, started to complain and started to long for the food of Egypt. They were talking about how they used to eat fish and meat and all the vegetables that they wanted. And then soon enough, the Israelites joined in and started complaining that they were tired. They started whining. And then their whining caused Moses to be frustrated. Now, those words, when Moses spoke, when he was like, oh, am I there? Did I bring them? Did I give birth to them? Did I bring them into this world? Why did you tell me to carry them? I felt it. I felt those words, because so many times I've been in positions where I'm like, I didn't ask for this. So he even went as far as asking for death. He was like, God, if that's the case, then just kill me, because he just couldn't take it anymore. Then, of course, God stepped in and asked him to choose 70 men, 70 leaders who would now not only share the burden with Moses, but God said he will take off the spirit that is on Moses and put on them. Here, obviously, he was referring to the Holy Spirit. And he asked the people to tell them to purify themselves in preparation for meat. And it was also, you want to eat meat, but you will eat meat until you start crying oil. That's an expression from my childhood, by the way. So just eating that they were going to eat meat and really eat it until they got sick of it, right? And then, even when God told Moses was a bit perplexed. It was like meat, that even if we caught all the fish in the Red Sea, we'll not even feed these people. The idea seemed so preposterous to Moses. But then I loved how the Lord asked him, has my arm now lost its power? Now you will see what I can really do. And I thought that was like game over. And the next day, God sent quail to the camp, so much so that it was almost three feet high, and the people ate it and gorged themselves on it, and that angered God, and he struck them with a plague, and some of them started to die. And I'm sure it was like the greedy ones. I'm sure it was the foreigners and all the ones that were saying, oh, we're not eating meat. Now you have eaten the meat. Now you have a plague. You've got a plague, and then you die. And then we move on to some family drama, where we see Miriam and Aaron, Moses' siblings, now start to talk against him. To say, oh, is Moses the only person that God speaks to? Is he the only one that I was like, where did this envy and jealousy come from? Like, yeah, it was a bit weird. But then, what I wrote here was Miriam and Aaron decided to have some beef for humble old Moses, and God wasn't having any of it. And he called them straight out. And I think he did this to let them know just how special Moses was to him, because he said it that everyone else I'll talk in riddles and in dreams, but with Moses I speak to him face to face. And then here is where we see the key. The Bible tells us that Moses was a very humble man. That's more humble than anybody else on earth. Now, I saw that was it, because I imagined myself being, maybe people were talking about me, and then God came and he was like, oh, do you know who she is and everything. I don't think I'll be able to sit down there, or not who she is, sorry, to say, oh, I speak to her face to face. I will sit down there and before me humility, my head will probably be twice his size. That's why I know it probably couldn't be me. But it was Moses, and the key was humility. And remember that I'd said before, when, back in Genesis, how I'd seen a pattern of how God was drawn to humble people. And so, because of their speaking against Moses, his beloved Moses, and if you remember, one of the promises was, I will bless those who bless you, and I will curse those who curse you. So I think that's what actually happened here. So God judged them, and struck Miriam with leprosy. So notice how Miriam got punished, but Aaron didn't. And I thought, if it was both of them, who would have now been able, done the rituals to do the thing to now bring them back, or do the things to bring them back into the fold? So maybe that's why, Aaron, I don't think he got a pass, because he actually said God was very, very angry with them. In chapter 13, we learn about the 12 spies who were leaders of each tribe, and they were sent out to the promised land to spy it out. And they explored the land for 40 days and returned to the people at the wilderness of Paran, bringing frightening reports and essentially saying that they couldn't take the land, mainly because there were giants there. So 10 of them came back with this report, but only 2 said no. And the 2 were so gingered to just even go. And those 2 were Caleb, the head of the tribe of Judah, and then Joshua, the son of Nun, right, who was Moses' assistant. So they were not having any of it, to say, it's not true, let's go, And Joshua was from the tribe of Ephraim. And also, we know, okay, so they said, mostly because of the giants and the size of the fruits and all. But then I thought about it. I was like, giants, which in my translation, refer to the Nephilim. But I remember that the Nephilim were wiped out with the flood. So for me, I don't think that it was really the Nephilim. Just maybe like really big people, really tall people. So we can't really say for sure, but I feel like maybe they were just even exaggerating just to make the people scared and not go into the promised land. And here is my hashtag getting to know God lesson. God distributed his spirit on the 70 men chosen by Moses. And even there were 2 who didn't show up to the meeting. The 2 who didn't show up received of the spirit and began to prophesy in the camp, to the astonishment of the people. Now this tells me that if we are chosen of God, it doesn't matter where we are or how far we run or the things that we choose not to do or do, God's will concerning our lives will always happen. How comforting is that? Thank you for joining me today. Tomorrow, I'll be sharing lessons from Numbers 14 to 15, as well as Psalm 19. So come prepared. See you tomorrow. Have a good evening. Bye.